Do you do cold opens? Should we do a cold open?
I mean, I don't want to force a cold open.
Well, it's just, I mean, I could pull a million cold opens out of my pocket. I've got so many cold opens.
Yeah, hit me with one.
Did you see?
Yeah, this is working out real well.
Story. Boom! There you go. I just gave you one. You didn't even recognize it. It's a multi-layered. It's like it's a whole level of sophistication that.
You've been doing this for a long time now.
You'll get to it at some level.
Right.
It's an art.
Hi everyone, and thank you for joining for another video. I have Rob here with me today. Yay! And as you know, I've been doing a lot of Disney World tips, both solo visits and visits with your whole family. And we had a specific question from a YouTuber commenter, Adriana Renee, I hope I said your name right, asked, how is transportation between the parks? So that's a pretty loaded question because transportation is huge in Disney World. And Adriana, from what I understand, is a Disneyland veteran, so you can see how it would be tough to grasp, I think, how
their
big transportation is
between
there.
the parks is literally walk across the street.
Yeah, and mini monorail that makes like 2 stops.
Yeah.
And Disney World is much, much bigger than that. So I guess let's start from the beginning, from the very first transportation thing you come across.
So from the day that man created wheel, we have learned to move goods and services across the land.
Okay, you went a little too far back.
Okay,
this
we'll
isn't
jump
like
forward
Spaceship
a little
Earth
bit more.
far back.
Okay. So do we want to talk about Magical Express? Like, is that the good
Yeah,
jumping off point?
yeah, I think that's
Okay.
the starting
I
point.
mean, that's an important thing. I mean, I was just talking with our buddy Ed, who's coming with us in January, and, you know, he is out of the loop. Even though we're big Disney fans, he doesn't, like, you know, absorb it through osmosis. So, like, he was out of the loop with the stuff like that. And so I think it's a good thing to talk about. It's a free bus service from Orlando International Airport to your hotel at Disney and back again. It is free as long as you're staying on Disney property, and it's really just a matter of, after booking your flights and booking your trip, calling up Disney and giving them your flight information, and they'll send you a letter with everything you need to know. It's really simple. It's just a matter of, you know, showing up at their little bus station in Orlando International and scanning your Magic Band and hopping on a bus and trusting that they're going to take you right to your hotel and not to Universal.
Oh God, why would they do that?
I don't know.
That'd be a real loss to them.
That'd be scary. Yeah, that would really go against the purpose of it. But
the thing you should do is just double check that your airline is serviced. Most major airlines are. I know, like American, JetBlue, Delta, off the top of my head. But they do have a list. It's probably like, I don't know, 8 or 10 airlines. So it'd be good to double check. But chances are you probably are taking
unless you're
airline.
flying like Dwayne's speedy air flights, like then
or if you're flying Rob Airlines, which has not become big enough yet to work with.
No, but it is flying service into MCO. Don't worry, I've got my own bus service that takes you to Disney or Orlando or Busch Gardens. It's really a toss-up, and it's sort of like that's what makes it fun, is the mystery.
It will take a little bit longer than just taking a cab. That's something to consider because they might have to stop off at other resorts, but it's going to cost you nothing. So personally, I find that extra 20-30 minutes is totally worth not paying, like, you know, $40 to get to my resort.
50. Try 50. We did that on our trip. Kat and I, we needed, because we were bouncing around so much, we just needed to save time, and so we bit the bullet and took a cab from the airport. And it was like $50 to $55 to go from the airport to Epcot, or alternatively, you know, you can use one of these shuttle services where it'll be like in the $20 range. But again, at that point, you're getting a service that's almost exactly like the Magical Express. It's just not free. So there's really zero reason to do that. Or you're renting a car, which is way more money.
Right. So the next part that we're going to talk about is kind of with the caveat that you're staying on property, though you can use Disney transportation once you get on property, even if you're not staying there. It's just more convenient to access certain points if you're staying on property.
Yeah.
So from the resorts, you can take any number of transportation to the parks, right? You've got buses at all resorts.
Yep.
If you want to explain how that works.
So bus service is really, actually, this is the more complex one. I thought we were going to save this one till later, but like the way it works is...
Let's get out of the way now.
All right, we'll do it. We'll do it. So the resort buses go to the parks and the water parks and downtown Disney, or Disney Springs as it's called now. What's really cool is now all of them, I think all of them, at the very least, the All-Stars now have them. There are televisions out with wait times, so you know when the next bus is coming for the next park. But they are free buses. They loop, I'd say during the busy times in the morning and the evening, you're seeing buses every 10 minutes or so. And then middle of the day, you see them every 15 to 20 minutes. And they do direct from the hotel to the parks. You can't take a bus from hotel to hotel. That becomes a little more complicated because then you have to go somewhere else. And then within certain instances, like in the middle of the day, you'll have some hotels grouped together. So for instance, the All-Star hotels, when we get on the bus to go to Epcot, we don't go directly to Epcot. We first stop at the other All-Stars to pick up people. And so it adds a little bit to the time there. And so, you know, again, similar to Magical Express, it's free, which is awesome. It's convenient, which is awesome. However, there's a time element because you are, you know, it's not your own personal bus service, although that's awesome. And maybe you should work that into it somewhere, Disney. So you do have to factor in that time. And then, you know, just one more thing to add on, because I always remember this, is if you're staying at the Fort Wilderness campgrounds, there is a bus service within that resort. Mm-hmm. So it's an extra bus to take to a park.
Yeah.
So extra time.
Also remembering that, like, if it's really busy season, you might get online and you might have to wait 2 or 3 buses before you get on
Oh
a
my
bus.
gosh. Forget busy off season too. Like
Yeah.
you get, and this is mostly at night when everyone's leaving.
True.
Like we ended up waiting, I'd say it took us a little over an hour to get back to our hotel from Wishes because you just have people pouring out of the park.
I've also seen it in the mornings. There was a time I was trying to hit rope drop for Magic Kingdom and I miscalculated and I did not make it. So if you want to see like the rope drop shows, just
Don't
get to
miscalculate like Christine.
Yeah, just you know what? Just get up 30 minutes earlier. It'll be worth it. You'll give yourself that time. Just do it. Some resorts, because they are on water properties, also have boats as an option, which is one of my favorite ways to get around because it's so scenic and nice. It's probably longer than taking the bus in most cases, but it's beautiful and it's just like a nice different way to do it. So I'm not going to be able to name all of them off the top of my head, but I think Fort Wilderness Campgrounds had a boat, correct,
Yep,
to Magic
to
Kingdom.
Magic Kingdom.
I know French Quarter has a boat
Yep.
to, is it Epcot area?
Disney Springs.
Oh, Disney Springs. Okay, you're right. Correct. See, I'm going to like mess
Same
this
with
all up.
Riverside because they're next to each other.
Right. Polynesian has a boardwalk because it's right on the water. Polynesian has a boat straight across to the Magic Kingdom. So there's a lot of different options to take, and I don't know. I like the boat, but do it only if you have some extra time. And then there's Rob's favorite, I think, which is
Pedicab? Oh wait, they're phasing those in next year. No, the monorail.
yeah.
The monorail's the best
monorail.
way. Wasn't there? There was like one other form of transportation I was gonna bring up. I don't remember it. The monorail is, you know, it is classic and iconic, and it is probably the fastest. However, it is also probably the most limited in where it goes and what you can do with it. The monorail has 2 loops. There's the Epcot loop, and then there's the Seven Seas Lagoon loop. Seven Seas Lagoon loop hits the Magic Kingdom, the Ticket and Transportation Center, along with the Contemporary, the Polynesian, and the Grand Floridian hotels. So if you're not staying at any one of those hotels, it's, you know, you're not going to be able to get to your room that easily. It's a great way to travel if like you have a car parked at the Ticket and Transportation Center. But what I think most people will use it for, if you're not at those hotels, is that it connects with the Epcot loop at the Ticket and Transportation Center. So it's a good way to get from the Magic Kingdom to Epcot and back and forth. And the Epcot loop basically is just Epcot and the Ticket and Transportation Center. They are like futuristic, super clean subways of the future, even though they're like over 100 years old.
They're over 100 years old. Oh, I was going to say, Disney World's over 100 years old.
Conceptually, like they're not a new idea.
Personally, I think you should ride the monorail at least once if you can.
Yeah.
And you really should ride it. I mean, riding it to the Magic Kingdom is cool, but riding it into Epcot is awesome because it takes you into the park. And you get to go around Spaceship Earth and then back out to the entrance. And along the way, they're doing this narration of like all the things you see in Epcot. And if you haven't been to Disney World before, it's a really great way to get acquainted with what you're about to like see when you go in there.
Por favor, manténganse de alejados de las puertas.
And there's that. There's like, the awesome
when the warning,
Spanish.
Spanish warning like audio clip becomes like a t-shirt. Clearly it has some sort of connection with people and fans over the years. There is another form of transportation. I don't know if you were going to talk about it. It is not a Disney form of transportation, but it is a viable option if you're on property. You know what I'm talking about?
I think maybe.
We use it in New York.
Uber?
So Uber is an option if you're on property. If you don't know what Uber is, because it's a Lyft, those rideshare sort of, you have the app and you call it's like a cab. You can also do cabs between the parks, but you know Uber exists now, so why?
Yeah.
And it is granted, we come from a position where we're in New York, so I think our idea of normal pricing is a little bit skewed.
Yes.
But it is really cheap down there.
Yes.
It is like you can take an Uber. We took one from our hotel to Epcot and it was like $5.50, $6. So like, you know, obviously we're not Ubering everywhere all the time, but if you need to get somewhere, especially like I mentioned earlier, you can't take buses from hotel to hotel. So say if you have a reservation at one of the resorts that you're not staying at, Uber might be your best option. I remember we did on our last big group trip, we used Uber to get around because, you know, that's just the easier, quicker option. And, you know, it's nice. It's fast. You know, I don't think we've ever waited more than 5 minutes for an Uber on property. And it is also a pretty cheap alternative if you want to like hurry up to getting to the airport after your trip's over. You can't Uber out of MCO, but you could Uber to MCO. It was like $25 to $30, whereas like a taxi is $50 to $55. And the reason you might want to do that is because one thing we forgot to mention is with Disney's Magical Express, they will provide free transport to the airport at the end. But what they do is to make sure you have enough time, they'll pick you up about 3 hours before your flight. So if you book a, 3 p.m. flight, you're leaving the property at noon. And for some people, they might want to have a late lunch. They don't need 3 whole hours. And so Uber might be a good alternative if you're willing to drop, $30 on it.
Yep. That's what I did in my last trip. There's like a whole section of my vlog where I'm hemming and hawing going, do I take the Magical Express? Do I take an Uber? And then I took the Uber and I got maybe an extra hour. I was able to go to Magic Kingdom again, which wasn't even in my plans. And it was totally worth it to me. Like for me, $30 extra to have a little bit more of my vacation was great.
Don't let Disney hear that. They will charge. They'll start charging by the half hour. Extra magic hours and then extra magic half hours for $30.
So I think that's everything. Hopefully, Adriana, we answered your question and answered that for, I'm sure, a lot of people who have questions about transportation because Disney World is huge and there's a lot to know. So hopefully we helped you. If anyone of you guys has been to Disney World a ton and has your own tips or experiences with transportation, you can leave us a comment and you can also tweet at us. I'm at IvyWinterYT.
And I'm at Rob Plays.
And yeah, thank you for joining us for another video. I'm sure we'll have plenty more of these to come because planning for Disney is endless.
It's easy. It takes 2 minutes and you're done.
I mean, I love it, but it's endless. All right, guys. Bye.
Bye.